New week, here we go. Yes. We will, quote, never surrender. This is Ukraine's response to a Russian demand that they wave a white flag if they want the war to stop. And it comes as the Russians intensify their attacks, including targeting of busloads of children. The Russian military have reportedly been stepping up the shelling, and there is now a curfew in Kyiv until Wednesday. 8 people there are dead after a mall was blown up earlier today. In Mariupol, the situation said to be far worse. Several 100,000 people reportedly trapped in the city. We're told there are bodies everywhere. Entire city blocks completely destroyed, but the true extent of the destruction still unknown because all communication in and out of the city has been cut off, along with food, water, and electricity. Despite the intense bombing, the Pentagon and other war watchers still believe the Russian military is having a very tough time. Watch.
The Russians have been flummoxed. They've been frustrated. They have failed to achieve a lot of their objectives on the ground. They are stepping up their, what we in the Pentagon here call long-range fires, bombardment from afar.
So what happens next? Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky says he still wants to hold peace talks with Vladimir Putin, and he had a chilling warning of what could happen if those talks fail.
We have to use any format, any chance in order to have a possibility of negotiating, the possibility of talking to Putin. But if these attempts fail, that would mean that this is a third world war.
Now, keep in mind, Putin is reported to have personally ordered mercenary groups to try and assassinate Zelensky. Thus far, they have not succeeded. At the same time, President Biden this week scheduled to fly to Europe to meet with allies. Is there anything he can do or say to turn this catastrophe around? Let's meet tonight's party panel. We've got the co-host of the Gary and Shannon Show on KFI AM 640 in Los Angeles. Gary Hoffman is here with a beautiful vista behind him. We've got Democrat strategist, radio host, and Fox News contributor also in the City of Angels, Leslie Marshall is back, and 2020 Libertarian Party vice presidential candidate. He is the enfant terrible of freedom. It is Spike Cohen. Welcome, everyone. Gary.
Thank you, Kennedy.
Thank you. So good to talk to you. So Russia is saying they will stop the bombardment of Mariupol if they wave white flags, and then they will allow 2 civilian escape corridors, one of which leads directly to Russia. So far, the Ukrainians have said absolutely not. What do they know, and why are they not surrendering?
Well, they know it's an absolutely futile move on their part to throw in the white flag, because this is not going to stop Vladimir Putin. It appears that whatever plan A was for Vladimir Putin failed miserably about 96 hours into the invasion. So whatever plan B looks like, it just looks like a hellscape, as you see in Mariupol or Kharkiv, or soon on the outskirts of Kyiv, where they're just blasting buildings indiscriminately, basically, whether it's the shopping mall. I think that's an image there of the shopping mall that went up, or apartment buildings, or art schools, or theaters. I mean, there's no reason for the Ukrainians to believe that the Russians are going to quit anytime soon, even if they did surrender. I mean, I feel like one of the wild cards in all of this is Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, who has said that it looks like the Russians have pulled back from their demand that Zelensky step down from power, and that the Ukrainians have even said, hey, we may even give up our quest for NATO membership. If, in fact, the Israeli Prime Minister is right, then that is a significant move in the right direction, at least for a diplomatic solution to all of this.
All right, so, Gary, do you think that Israel is the best peace broker, or does the U.S. still hold the diplomatic cards?
Well, Israel is the only one that is being talked to by both sides right now. I don't think Emmanuel Macron has taken a call from Vladimir Putin for a couple of weeks now, and he was really the last Western leader that was in contact with him.
Yes, and he told him to wear a $14,000 puffer coat to a massive rally, and that was horrible advice. So, Leslie, what should our president do as he meets with leaders in Poland and Brussels this week? What should he say, and what can the U.S. offer at this point that will actually move the needle? Because, you know, we're hearing from the Institute for the Study of War and others that Russia is, they are so demoralized and they're having their own supply chain issues with their military that they're 2 weeks away from an actual stalemate in Ukraine. So what can our president do?
Well, a few things. I mean, with the country of Poland, who is just have so many refugees, and certainly that is a difficulty to the economy of Poland. The United States can not only help with that, but there are some refugees who would prefer to come to the United States as opposed to stay in Europe, and the president is supposed to discuss that and how that would come about. But additionally, in addition to the $800 million and the specific weapons, very high-tech weapons that we sent to Ukraine and our allies did as well most recently, what the next steps are, knowing that you're dealing with a madman who knows he's losing, is desperate, and that is very dangerous. It's also one of the reasons the United States and our allies have said no to a no-fly zone. You can't have a no-fly zone light, and they're very concerned about what Vladimir Putin would do with regard to nuclear weapons, and still just miles from the border of Poland, a NATO nation, even though NATO troops are at the ready. I think it's looking at plans A, B, C, D, E with our allies based on what this individual does. I mean, President Zelensky has said he wants a no-fly zone. The United States is not alone in saying that could prompt a World War III with Vladimir Putin.
All right, so Spike, with the help of Russia and the United States in 1994, Ukraine obviously gave up their nuclear stockpile. Should they try and get it back now?
No backsies, unfortunately, especially since it was actually the Russian government that they gave it to finally in 1996. And by the way, every country that is watching this is seeing that nuclear non-proliferation means allow the larger countries to bomb or invade you at will, and you have no real ability to do anything to stop them other than hope that you can rally the troops from other countries, which probably will want to stay out of it because they're nuclear powers, which is exactly why we're not getting into this. I think what's happened is that it's clear that the Russian invasion didn't go as swimmingly as they thought they would, and so now they're moving on to just bombardment. I think if the U.S. government, if the Biden administration really wanted to put an end to this, they need to give Putin an out. He needs to be able to go back to his country and say, well, as a result of this military operation, special operation, we got these concessions. And that concession could simply be, we want to work on step-by-step de-escalation that both sides are doing that can be verified by both sides to work towards a normalization of relationships, and that can start as soon as you pull out of Ukraine. What worries me is that I think instead we're going to end up finding out that U.S. intelligence and military are doing in Ukraine what they did in Afghanistan when Russia invaded there, try to make this into Russia's Iraq. And if you'll recall, that led to the creation of Al-Qaeda and the Taliban.
Absolutely,
you know, and
absolutely right. And it so far hasn't ended well. Yes, and it could happen for a long time. And unfortunately, all the people who are really excited about a hot war are really, really bad at the long game. And that's what terrifies me, is the unintended consequences don't occur to these people who are supposedly brilliant military strategists or, armchair dum-dums who don't know what they're talking about, who have no idea how easy it is to get into something that is so protracted, that kills so many people and, all the while destroys prosperity, because there are a lot of people in Russia right now who want money. They don't want to be billionaires. They want to put food on the table. They want to buy toilet paper. They don't want to stand in line for 2 hours to get a loaf of bread. So, yes, and hopefully there are enough rational people left in the world, at least 4 of them, who will get that back on track. Panel's going to stay right here.